Okay, Nathan, I think you're good.
All right. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
See if Wendy's
Yes,
good.
we can.
Wendy, we good?
You're ready.
Okay.
Wonderful. Well, welcome everybody. I'd like to call this meeting of the Historic Zoning Commission to order. Thanks for coming. First item of agenda. The agenda is the approval of the agenda.
Yeah, no changes here.
Okay.
Oh, except for I have September instead of, should be,
Oh, in October.
Yeah.
was that
No.
special called?
Yeah, the 22nd, Matt.
We moved it. So that was a
20.
regular schedule.
Yeah, that was just a week before 20, right?
My bad. Okay, so there you go.
Wonderful. So the first item here is the approval of the agenda. Do you have a motion for approval of this evening's agenda?
I make a motion to
Motion.
approve the agenda.
We have a motion from Commissioner Forsyth. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
Wonderful. All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those against say nay. All right. Item number 3 here is the approval of the minutes from the October 22nd, 2020 special call. That was a special called meeting. Am I correct about
Okay.
that?
Yeah, I thought so.
Right.
We did it earlier.
Yeah, we did it like a week earlier.
Yeah, because you were out on FMLA, Matt.
That's right. Yeah, scooted up.
Okay. So
Seems
we'll
like
correct that on the agenda. So then we're approving the minutes as the agenda as corrected, correct?
yeah, it's fine as it is. We've got the correct information on the iCompass agenda.
Right. Okay.
Wonderful. Okay. Do we have a motion to approve that?
I make a motion.
motion.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll motion to approve.
We have a.
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those against? Wonderful. So moving on to old business.
Yeah, committee reports. Again, the Blight and Beautification Task Force is currently not meeting, but it is something that's been recommended to return as part of the bridge plan, which is the extension of our comprehensive plan. We do have, and we can talk about this a little bit more later, Liz is rolling off after years and years of quality service to the Historic Zoning Commission. So as that comes back, if Blight and Beautification comes back, then this body will need to look at another appointment there. The JCDA Downtown Design Committee so they finished the big Downtown Breezeway project and are looking to kind of regroup. They took off November and December. There's a lot of issues with family members being needing care and just some of the leadership getting pulled in different directions. So they're going to kick off at in January 2021, and the main focus will be on setting the goals for that committee moving forward and identifying future projects and things like that. And Wesley has served on that for a while now, a couple of years, and this body may want to consider looking at what those projects are and looking at if there's someone else or an additional member from this body that may want to join in on that. That design committee is, has a lot of potential, and it needs good, the more design background and experience would help that group kind of launch off, because it's finally getting really organized and hopefully getting a little more organizational structure in place and good leadership in place to get a lot of work done. So just be considering that. Wesley, you've done a great job working on that.
That's just to the Main Street program they're going to discuss too, Matt.
Yeah.
Yep, right.
So it's been part of the Main Street program. They're just trying to get a little more organized and follow Main Street's guidance for their design committee rather than just it's been a little loose. but there's a new chairperson that's taking a lot of direction with that. And so that may be something for folks to consider, is looking at what the project ideas they're coming up with and how this body can be best represented on that committee. The next is our design review committee. I incorrectly have no meeting listed here. We actually did meet. We met with applicants on when was that? Wednesday last week,
Yeah,
the 18th,
yep.
and had a very productive meeting. And we'll get into the details of that here in a minute. Moving on to the staff approved COAs, we had a new roof in the Tree Streets and a new roof on the John Sevier Center. This one actually went to the DRC as well because they were removing this terracotta tile. Given that it was not an element that was extremely visible and it was an issue with where it was failing and causing leaks, we agreed that they're putting a rubber membrane down, but then they're also putting a metal cap on this, and staff has approved a similar color as the terracotta tile to go in that, so it blends with the brick and helps kind of cap off the top of that building. So that's been approved.
Was the roof leaking, Matt?
Yeah, just at where these end caps were.
Okay.
So we needed to do something there to get them to dry that up. Staff updates on previously approved COAs. We've got, I don't have a whole series of fresh photos, but we do have 2 murals that were completed that were approved by this body. And so those will go off the list now. You can see those there, adding a lot of nice color to downtown. Really great projects there. Over in the Tree Streets, we had the Widows Walk that was completed over here at 700 West Locust. That will, after this wood dries out completely, it will be painted the same color as the rest of the trim, this kind of cream color. And so that was a project that had started off with construction that was a little bit out of line with what we had approved, and they modified it and got it back in line. So it really looks just like what was there historically. So good job there. As far as updates on upcoming initiatives, I don't know if Hal, if you want to add anything about the potential grant application for the rewrite of the Tree Streets design guidelines. I will add that Charlie Stahl submitted information to the state for a historic marker for the Memorial Park Stadium. I guess I should say Memorial Stadium over here across from City Hall. I've just forwarded that application to you all, so you'll see that in your email. And really appreciate Commissioner Forsyth hunting down and doing some research and finding some good information on that I think was utilized in that application. I haven't dug through it myself, but I think it pretty much all leans on research that was done by Commissioner Forsyth. So we thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Any other comments
Thank you,
on
Chris.
upcoming initiatives from the commissioners?
Yeah, the only thing I've had, Matt, on the grant application was what I shared with you about the potential cost estimates of somewhere around $20,000. I did just today reach out to Jane Coleman about getting in the application copy of that so they can start moving on that. But she's out of the office till next week. So
Okay,
that's where we stand on that.
that sounds good. That's right in line with the Gump Edition grant.
Right.
And so we should be able to get, that would leave a, what is that, $8,000 match by the
An
city.
$8,000 match.
So we'd have to make a request to,
I think the first step, we can start working on that whatever level, but as you mentioned, I think we do need to have approval from City Manager Peterson to move forward on that.
Yeah, so that would be, something that maybe y'all want to take a lead on, whether it's Chairman Brand or a committee of you guys reach out to maybe the mayor and the city manager to make that proposal. But, I'd have as much detail about what you're asking for, and any strings attached. And I'm happy to help with that communication, but I think it'd be good coming from the commission itself.
Yeah, well, and the last one we did, of course, they were kind of in limbo, and somehow Charlie was the one that took lead on that for us.
Well, it might have been because he was the interim development services director.
Yeah, something like that, but I'm not sure exactly what the time.
So yeah, Preston would be a good, looping Preston in as well would be important.
Okay, I can do that and get this and start to put something together and get it out to the commission, and then keep them posted on when we need to start pushing on it a little bit, once we know a little bit more what we're dealing with on the state level. I think that'd be good.
Okay, new business. We have one item tonight. It is to revise the proposal related to the Henry, the development in the 300 block of Main Street, fronts both Main Street and Market Street. This goes back to 2019. So we're utilizing that same COA number you'll see there and just revising this. So it really has three parts: the front of 309 East Main Street, the rear of 309 East Main Street, which is Market Street side, and the rear of 313 East Main Street, again, on the Market Street side. So I'd like to go through this, each one. Hopefully my presentation will kind of lead us through it. That I think we should consider each part. We can do a final motion at the end that incorporates all, but I think it'd be easier to kind of make a decision as a commission with individual motions that lead to a final motion that summarizes everything. I think there'll be more discussion on some items than there are on others. So Ryan, what I'm showing you here is just the modification to the description. We're just adding a line here that talks about the window arrangement on the front of 309 East Main Street. So what we have here is what's proposed is this particular window arrangement where you have a single window and then a set of double windows, single window, and that's on the second and third floor. What was originally proposed was 3 sets of double windows. So one set of double windows has been split out. And I think it actually covers, creates more transparency and equates to the same amount of total window area, just a different configuration. And I think it has a nice rhythm to it. And so, I've got some of the design guidelines pulled up there. And I think it meets with those. And so staff recommends approval of that new window configuration. And so if you want to discuss that and, voice any concerns you have, you could either do a motion or you could just, we can get a consensus maybe, and then we can move on to the next part. Actually, considering that we needed to have a public hearing for this, we probably are going to have to hold any motions until after we have a public hearing. I didn't think about that at first.
Yeah, I didn't think about that either, and I think that seems very reasonable.
Let's do staff questions. Let's go through the entire thing, staff questions, public hearing, and then we can come back through each item to have a deeper discussion after we do the public hearing. Sound good, Nathan?
Yes, that sounds very
Okay,
good.
so I'll finish my presentation. So we'll move on to the rear of 309. This is where they've got a reduction in windows on the rear. And so this is what was in your staff report is on the left, where they had reduced from this original proposal where they had a row of 4 double windows on both the mezzanine level and the second floor. So it goes first floor storefront, second floor or second level is mezzanine, third level is the second floor. And they had 4 sets of double windows. they originally proposed a 3x5 window, single window with a single row of 3. And they've come back since meeting with the design review committee and enlarged those windows to 3 foot 9 inch by 7 foot 4 inch. So significantly enhance the size of the window, but still significantly different than what was originally proposed here. You can see over here on the right side, the rendering that showed how they had proposed it originally when this was originally approved in 2019. This is the way it is today. Again, this is what they're proposing. Design review committee met and discussed this with them. There was not a lot of opposition of going from double windows to single windows because of the kind of Art Deco style of this building, both on the front and the way that these horizontal or vertical windows, are arranged. That's a unique window design layout. So single windows does fit into that. It is compatible with that. So there was not a ton of opposition. They addressed some of the concerns by increasing the scale of the windows.
But no mezzanine windows.
There is still no mezzanine windows. So it's my opinion, my recommendation that it's okay to approve the 3 large windows on the second floor, but I would not approve, I would recommend denial of eliminating all the windows on the mezzanine level. And I want the applicant to have a chance to present their side on that.
Okay.
I think it would be a disservice to the originally approved plans and to what the potential interface with Market Street and the environment that we are hoping to create on Market Street as downtown continues to develop. We should be envisioning a second Main Street, essentially, on Market Street. It won't be exactly the same, but there needs to be the type of character and architectural features that would support the same type of vibrancy that we're trying to aim for on Main Street. So this is the back of the building, but this building in particular has a storefront on the first floor and should have significant transparency, not the same as the first floor, but should have significant transparency on the upper story windows. And it should be in line with our other commercial buildings downtown. So in that regard, I think removing all the windows on the mezzanine level would be out of character with the rest of the historic district. So I would recommend denial of that. Moving on to 313 East Market Street, the rear side. Again, this has a lot of markups, and it's mainly for one big reason. The original proposal was to remove an addition that was added on the back of this building, which is shown right here. This structure right here was proposed to be removed, and a storefront shown here, and parking area with a street wall of brick and wrought iron wall was to be put in place, and a ramp for access. All of those things have now been scrapped. They want to leave that building in place, utilize it for residential, which is a new allowance within the B2 zoning district. So they want to utilize that. That would helps reduce cost and demolition cost, and also helps with some support and structural issues they were looking at facing if they demoed that building. And so how do they treat it? So going from that proposal, they proposed this on the left, which was to punch in 3 windows. They had a really good location of those being up above the pedestrian realm where it would provide privacy for the residents. But the scale of the windows and the spacing of the windows was a little off. And so that was some of the feedback they got from the design review committee. They responded with this proposal shown on the right with larger scale windows. Again, the 3 foot 9 inch by 7 foot 4 inch windows, and they're spaced a little bit differently here as well. So I think that does accommodate the type of rhythm of openings It accommodates residential uses on first floors, which is unusual, but it still creates the type of pedestrian environment we want on Market Street. So I think in this case, they've really done a great job. You can envision the large windows going in there. I think they've done a good job of addressing the design review committee's concerns and presented a good product here. And it is in line with the design guidelines. So staff recommends approval of the modifications to 313.
Matt, are those top 2 floors, are they recessed? Is that all just one facade, straight facade?
They are recessed. You can see there.
For recess.
Okay, so I thought, so that bottom one here would be the first row, right? First floor, and then setback on the next, is that right? Is that
That's correct.
Okay.
So you can't really see, you really can't even see that top floor. That's a section view. That's not a real perspective view.
Okay.
And you wouldn't really be able to see that. Now there's additional discussion about potentially painting this brick. It is a different brick. It was an addition. It wasn't built at the same time. The applicant initially was proposing that and potentially a mural here. But what they've planned to do is put the windows in, see if it really then calls for painting this to kind of clean it up a little bit and maybe give it some distinction and compatibility with the front of the building, because they are proposing to paint the front of the building, but they're going to wait on that, as far as I recall, before proposing to paint this brick. They're going to do the windows first and then see if there's a need for painting it, need for any kind of mural to encapsulate any additional space. I think once the windows go in, there's not going to be much room for a mural, though something creative could be done at the pedestrian level, just to line the bottom of the building. Could be neat, but not a typical place where we have a large blank canvas of brick for a mural, but not out of the question. So in combination, I've recommending approval again for the front of 313, the front of 309, a portion of the proposed revisions for the rear of 309, though not the full elimination of the windows on the mezzanine level. I think we need some more discussion on that. And then recommending approval for keeping the addition in the back rather than demoing it, and then putting in the windows they've proposed, the larger scale windows they've proposed. And if there's any details of that which I've missed, the applicant here can speak to that. If there's any questions, I can answer some, but then we can go into the public hearing.
Matt, is this our time to kind of comment, or do we wait to the public hearing?
Yeah, wait for the public hearing. I'll answer any technical questions that the commission has right now, just for my staff report, and then you'll have a chance to give your own presentation, and I'll be glad to show the images that will help with you to give your presentation during the public hearing.
Okay.
Any questions?
Having sat in on this of the DRC meeting, I don't have any more questions for you. I don't know about Wes or Liz.
I don't, except for that setback. But the other one would be the windows, but you can discuss that.
That's a little hard to understand, but yeah.
Right.
Okay, public hearing, Nathan?
Yeah, let's go ahead and open the public hearing. There should be a number appearing on the screen here for those that wish to call in.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're good. There we are. If you'd like to call in, you're watching this live streamed online. Matt will have that number up for you.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. I'll send Matt an email if you would like. So we will begin our. Do we have a phone call?
No, sorry, that was mine.
Oh, okay. We never get phone calls, so
Well, let's,
it's a real.
there's a 20-second delay, so I would recommend that we have the applicant go ahead and start and give their presentation. If anybody else is listening, they can call in.
That sounds good. Yeah, if y'all
Okay.
go ahead, please do.
Philip, do you want me to talk or do you want to talk?
Let me talk first, and then you can get into the technical stuff as well.
Okay.
So I just wanted to say, one, that I appreciate, everybody allowing us to present this project tonight, and taking the time that you guys have taken to spend down here at and making an effort to be on the city staff to help out with this stuff. So we when we did this project, when we proposed this project, this is 4 separate buildings that we were taking on at one time. And so our vision of what this looked like and the reality of what maybe our budget was or has been, we're probably not aligned. We wanted to do the best thing we could do, but we didn't know what the costs were going to be. So we kind of took this somewhat with a leap of faith. But the first building was the small building that we addressed, which we have actually finished, and we have that building fully leased. So we're excited about that. The second building was the Sears building, which all the exterior improvements have been made, or most of them, and we're close to finishing that from an exterior standpoint. And we're starting on, we've got 5 multifamily units up top that are getting ready to be finished. And so we're excited about that. We're just waiting on the city to kind of finalize our CO for that. So we've made some pretty good progress on both buildings. The challenge has been just the cost to do this and the lack of demand in retail. So what we have realized is that right now there's a lot of demand for multifamily housing, and there's not much demand for retail. And I think everybody would kind of understand that, given the fact we're in a pandemic and just the reality of retail in general in an Amazon type world. So we are, and the fact that we're getting a lot of interest for small shop space. So we have modified the Sears building to add multifamily on the first floor, and we're doing the same thing with the hands-on building. Hence, one of the reasons why we're not tearing the back of that building off, mainly because the cost was astronomical, but then it allowed us to also put some more multifamily. So, I guess the reason I'm talking about all this is I'm really just trying to share with you guys kind of the thought process of what we as the developers are kind of going through as we deal with this. So the next building would then be the hands-on building, and our real goal for that bottom floor is really in hopes to have some kind of restaurant or some kind of fun user. We were really trying to hope we could get maybe distillery that was looking to go on Walnut Street and maybe put them in there, and then have like a restaurant on the second level of the mezzanine. But the reality is we don't know what that's going to be yet. So and there's some bathrooms in the back right now. And so what we want to do is we'd like to get the multifamily started, because we're ready to move forward with that. And we want to get the foot traffic and people there in the buildings and going. And so that was the logic behind making the changes to the Sears building, the hands-on building, which, we appreciate staff's approval on that. And then is also the changes to the front of the JCPenney building, which again, we appreciate staff approval on that. That's more in line with kind of where the bedrooms are laying out and everything. And then on the back side, again, we appreciate staff approval on the upper level because that's, again, in lines with where the bedrooms are. And Matt, could you show that kind of that back level of, yes. No,
Yeah.
the other
The
one,
pennies,
the Pennies building.
309.
correct.
Yes. So again, like staff has approved or suggested approval of the top windows. Again, that goes in line with the configuration of the multifamily. the mezzanine level, the reason we're asking for no change on the mezzanine level is because we just have no clue what we're going to be doing there. And we have to be able to move forward with the multifamily in this project, which will be on actually the third floor. I don't know if it's considered the second floor, but wherever those windows are. And then there's like a penthouse type area that's above that, which we'll be putting some units in as well. Plus, we'll be filling all the units in the hands-on building. And the way I'm understanding this is, in order for us to get a CO, we have to be able to be completed with all the improvements we're making for the multifamily, and we don't want to start the project if we can't get that CO. And so, that's why we're asking for no change on the bottom. When we have a user, we will come back to you guys with a proposal for that, because that at that time it's gonna make sense to do something different. But like right now, there's an existing bathroom. I think Katie is, if I'm correct, kind of in the one of those, where one of those windows would have gone, and there's no reason for us to demo that bathroom if a restaurant may need to use that one day and we need to modify it, or we need to do something, but we just don't know what we're going to be doing there. So we didn't want to just make up some kind of proposal for something that, we didn't know was going to happen. So we're trying to kind of avoid like the first scenario where we had come to you with a concept without really having fully vetted it and having to come back again. So we're just, to make changes to something we don't know. So that's why we're asking just to be plain this time. And then when we do get a user, if they need that space and stuff, we'll come back to you guys with a proposal.
Right. So if you don't mind, what I want to elaborate on that, and Philip touched on this, is, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Normally it lights up as green and it wasn't green. So, so what Philip was talking about is the fact that when we came the first time, we had nothing designed on the floor plan. So once we actually laid out how we could fit units in, what we were going to be able to do, it changed some of the window configuration. What we've also talked about since starting this project is we do not have a user for the mezzanine level. Ideally, that's going to stay as whether it's a restaurant or some type of an assembly space. What I would hate to see happen is that we go ahead and add windows to create just a symmetry on the back of a building that could have been, there's potential that we could have storefront glazing all along that mezzanine level if there's a user for it. But if we go ahead and we just put, windows in to create symmetry today, we're potentially getting less of what you would potentially want in the future if we could just wait. For instance, if you looked at the front of this building, that second level has quite a bit of storefront glass. If we have a user that could do that, we would be open to doing that, but it doesn't make sense today when it's unoccupied space.
So if I may, obviously, anything would be an improvement to what we have today. I think one concern that, was voiced in the design review committee is that, how, from the Historic Zoning Commission's standpoint, what was approved is a, storefront, full on appropriate downtown commercial space fronting on Market Street. And then to go back to this, which is kind of I don't know, for lack of a better term, a watered down version of the back of this building, with no guarantee that, it's going to be addressed in some fashion moving forward. If they were just to eliminate what had already been approved for the second level. So that's a risk that, the Historic Zoning Commission is being asked to make. I'm curious if there's any potential for, if this gets approved, if they're okay with the approval of the modification on the second floor, if you would be okay with just adding that same configuration and scale so that it is reduced from what you originally asked for and were approved for, but it doesn't completely eliminate it. So I just want to add that to this discussion. Jay, other commissioners, feel free to tell me that's dumb. But I think this is maybe a compromise versus, yes, I see how, if the more information you had and the more knowledge you have what was going to go in there, then you could accommodate more specifically. But we don't have any of those specifics to then back completely off of what was already a really good proposal and approval originally in 2019. Does that make any sense?
I kind of want to jump in and just kind of say that this particular part of the proposal is a bit of a sticky condition because the commission is already kind of put into a bind by by having to revise the proposal as it was approved last year. And I, for one, am a little hesitant to allow potential for another situation where it may come up again, where we, where we essentially have to go through this one more time, and really not knowing what that program or what that facade might look like. But I think that what we would need to do is see something that actually works in this situation and then also works in the proposed situation. I know
in order to, because the other goal
when we
here, Jay, not to cut you off, but the other goal here that we need to be sensitive to is that they need this project to continue going forward so they can get those tenants in there so that they can potentially get the additional rooftops or build the internal market to support the retail and restaurant that they also want to bring to downtown. So it's kind of, we're stuck in this need to move forward. They need to complete the project, but they've got to complete it the way it's approved, but they don't have a user yet. So, just want to make sure that we're being sensitive to that, but sorry to interrupt.
Can I convert it? Go ahead.
I appreciate the distinction, Matt.
Could they use that for multifamily housing, that mezzanine level, or not? If they can't get anybody.
Well, I don't think that'd be the highest and best use, Philip.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like technically we can, but that's not our plan.
Okay, so you want retail or restaurant in there is what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, we honestly would rather just let the bottom floor and the mezzanine level sit until we find the right user, then try to just cram something in there that's gonna, work, because the space is really pretty and they kind of go well together. And there's not a lot of, there's really no spaces that have a kind of mezzanine type feel. I guess the King building does, but that's kind of been boogered up for the same reason we don't want to booger this up. Like,
right.
We'd really like to have something nice. It would be a showpiece that could be kind of, this is kind of the flagship building of the three, particularly in the front. And guys, I know we're talking about the back and we've watered down the back, but I mean, I just was adding up, like we're adding 48 windows between the JC Penney building and the, on just the front alone, between both buildings. So the Hands-On building and the JC Penney building. And I mean, that's a lot of windows. So, I mean, we're really trying to make it a showpiece on the front, but we don't know what the back's going to be, and we don't want to booger it up, and we want to keep moving forward with this project and do the multifamily so we can get some people down here and have a nice project. But at some point we probably will come back to you guys if we have a user and they want to have like restaurant upstairs and have some cool stuff. Like, they're going to have a lot of input in that, and we'd love to share that. But until then, we just need to have like kind of a blank slate until we can figure out what to do.
If anybody's been in a building with retail or restaurant with a mezzanine, in other cities, Asheville, Greenville, it's a really neat, has a really neat impact. I think Capone's actually has a bit of a mezzanine that's not open, but it has that really, vaulted ceiling for a portion of it. So, but yeah, I think it's honorable that you have that vision for it, because that would, and it will be a really great space.
Matt,
Yes.
before we move forward, I just want to make sure that Commissioner McCusker had an opportunity to finish his thought or his observations, because as an architect, I find personally his input on this really valuable. So I just want to make sure, Jay, I think you got cut off a little bit. So did you have any other observations that you wanted to make, or any other thoughts before we continue? I don't want to get too far away from that.
Sure. I mean, honestly, my thoughts on at this point aren't entirely architectural, although there's quite a lot to be said for that, and I think we'll get to that. But really, I guess, the position that the commission is in at this point is that we were given a proposal and promised a facade that really, considered what was going on with the building, and then now that's off the table. So what happens when we approve this or something, when we approve something for this, really, then we have to come back and then that gets revised as well. I think I just want to, we just need to know really what we're going to be doing. And I think we're, as a commission, I think we're kind of at a catch-22, because if we approve additional windows or enforce installing these additional windows on the mezzanine level, then we're doing it with the understanding that it's probably not going to happen. But we also want to, make sure that that middle level is not left to, that it's considered. Because the thing architecturally about this facade is that, those levels above the storefront are, it's just brick, but it's done very specifically as a white space to offset the stacked slot windows and then the storefront on the ground level. And
Jay,
it's balanced. So I think we need to think about that.
Jay, I'm sorry. I feel like I keep interrupting you, but I do want to kind of make sure we're following a process here. Nathan, if you'll agree, we need to be directing comments, questions to the applicant and open to the public, and then we can deliberate after we close the public hearing.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's a good point, Matt.
Any other comments from the applicant? Now's your chance to be heard. I'm not seeing any emails. Wendy, have you gotten any phone calls?
No.
Okay.
The applicant, any other comments based on what you've heard?
So I don't want to speak for Philip, and I'd like him to comment, but I don't think that we are 100% opposed to adding the windows like you were, Matt. They would have to be smaller they wouldn't be able to be vertically as tall, because that ceiling is not a tall ceiling on the mezzanine level. Again, we can't justify putting in storefront like we have on the front of the building, but I would love to see that happen if we had a user for this building that was going to take it. So I really hate the idea to just add additional windows that will meet the potential approval that could have been a whole lot better if we waited for a user.
Yeah, and I appreciate that input, Katie. I guess I feel like the commission's question for y'all would be, what guarantee do we have that something will happen? Because the current proposed windowless mezzanine level is not, I would say, not really acceptable, but like putting something else in there sounds great.
Right.
It's something that we could totally accept. So
One other question I have, you guys have a development agreement, Philip, with the city, as the city was the seller. Does that come into play with this at all? Is there a timeline? Is there anything else you can add from that side? Or is that
Yeah,
not relevant?
I think we have like 3 years to develop the property. And, and if there's circumstances where, we can't, if there's no one who wants to lease the space, then obviously, we have some recourse there to kind of, have that conversation. But yeah, I mean, our goal is to try to develop it as quick as we can. So, but the quicker we get people in there, the quicker we're going to have a chance to be able to, to fill up the space. So, I mean, the one thing that I think Katie kind of nailed it. I mean, if you all want us to put those same windows in that are on the top as the bottom, we can do that. But that's what you're going to have to live with. Like, we're not going to ever change it if we do that.
Yeah.
Because we won't be able to ever change it. Or you can take a little bit of a leap of faith with us and say, hey, look, we don't like what we're seeing now. But honestly, guys, that's what you got right now. Like, if we do nothing to this building, that's what you got right now. So take a little bit of a leap of faith with us. We've done nice stuff throughout the community. We've also done a nice job on the first 2 buildings. And so, we're gonna try to do something nice on this mezzanine level, but we have to be able to start these apartments. If we can't start these apartments, then we are not going to do anything to both of these buildings. And we're just going to just quit, because there's no reason for us to, I mean, we have to be able to put this multifamily in, or it's just a dead project, period.
I guess that was my question about the development agreement, about, how that went. Cause I know, the property was sold for
yeah. And we're happy to sell it back to the city if they want to develop it themselves. So, I mean, the development agreement is a development agreement. It's not a contract. It's a, hey, we're going to try to do the best we can kind of thing. So, but if the Historic Zoning Commission wants to hold us up from moving forward to develop the multifamily, then that's up to you guys. But
well, Mr. Cox, I mean, I understand your characterization of it, but I don't think that anyone here would want to either hold you up or even be perceived as holding you up. We're just trying to do.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. I understand. You're putting you guys in a tough position, because you'd like to see something better, and you'd like to have something to know that it's going to be there, but at the same time, you don't know what it's going to be, and you're having to trust us. And I know that's not an easy thing to do in the position you're in. So all I can tell you is that, we can either do one of 2 things. We can put the windows that are on the 3rd floor on the mezzanine level. And if you guys are comfortable with that, we'll move on with that. Or you can take a leap of faith with us and leave it blank, and maybe we can do something cooler in the future.
I have a question for the applicant, if it's an appropriate time. So, what is the timeline for, I mean, obviously a lot of this is conditional and nobody has a crystal ball, but do you all have a tentative timeline for when you would have a plan for that mezzanine space? So, for instance, how long would the leap of faith last, I guess, in theory?
Well, I can tell you what I know. We are planning to start the multifamily, I would say sometime in February. Katie, does that sound accurate by the time we'd have plans?
Yes, that's realistic.
So, that's our goal, is to start, and we would be doing ground units on the Sears building, all the units, completing all the multifamily units in the hands-on building, and then all the multifamily units in this building, which is the JCPenney building. So all that, all that storefront, all that stuff on the front, we would be doing all that stuff. And and we would obviously be putting these windows on the back side of the building too. If we, and that's all I can tell you that I know. So we are actively marketing the bottom space. We've had several groups look at it, but nobody's been serious. And so that I don't know. I mean, I guess, I don't think we would move to do multifamily there, until it just, I mean, if we had to go 10 years, maybe we would, but we would rather hang in there and try to get something really cool instead of doing something kind of lazy, like putting multifamily on that level and just living with that. So
Can you guys, Katie, Philip, help me understand that how putting windows on the mezzanine level impacts the future use of that? You mentioned, I think, bathrooms, but if you had a restaurant, if you had, a distillery, any of those kind of things with sitting space and even if bathrooms on the rear part of that building, how does putting those windows in negatively impact that kind of unknown use?
Well, so what I can tell you is right now in the opposite corner from the stairwell, so on the screen it would be your left-hand side on that mezzanine. There are bathrooms currently in that corner, fairly large bathrooms. So we would have to go in there and demo out in order to put a window in that location along that side. The other two could go in, but I guess the issue that we're having here is, so if we could have that crystal ball and know that we're going to have this wonderful restaurant that has a mezzanine level that overlooks the rest of the restaurant, my guess would be is that they're going to want to put storefront in that mezzanine level and be able to look out onto Market Street. That's a very expensive endeavor for a mezzanine that is currently unoccupied and there's no leased space. So it's a lot less expensive to go ahead and go in with a few windows. And my fear would be that because we would go in with some smaller windows, that we would end up putting multifamily because it wouldn't be as attractive to a potential user down the line.
So just so I understand, there is if you were to get your vision, accomplish your vision, find the right tenant, you're envisioning the potential of an upgrade of a lot of glass along the mezzanine level, similar to the second level of, is it 307?
No, it's 309. I mean, the front of this building.
The front of this building. Okay, where the second level above the awning, you've got a ton of glass, and you envision that same thing on this side, a lot of glass, maybe a roll-up window, or
Right. Would you agree, Philip?
Yeah. And let me say something else that I think maybe would appease you guys a little better.
But, okay, let me finish that real quick. So
Okay.
if you punch in windows here now that are maybe a compromise, you may be forfeiting some future grander vision.
Right.
Okay, that's something that I don't think was coming across in your proposal, and I want to make sure that's understood. That's that leap of faith, I think, is what you're trying to.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I thought Katie said it quite well, but yeah, that's exactly right. I mean,
okay.
if we put the three windows that are below, we can do that. And yes, we got a demo bathroom. That's kind of a pain, but we can do that. But that's the best it's ever going to be. Or we can take, do something better with by leaving it blank today, knowing that we would come back to you guys with a proposal to do something. And I'll even go beyond that and say that we, at a minimum, we would come back and do those windows there if I guess what I'm saying is we don't want to do those windows, but we would do those windows
if you had to do multifamily. If
we in the future, we're not going to we're going to commit to not going to leave it blank. Okay. But we don't know what it's going to look like. So why put us in a situation where we're having to design windows today to get our CO that nobody really wants.
So this has become a little bit clear for me. Someone else?
Matt, I want to. Sorry, I just want to. I need to interrupt.
Yeah, you're good.
Philip, from a design standpoint, I agree with you, and I think that, quite honestly, we're talking about the large storefront. We're talking about doing punched openings. I honestly think that to put something in that mezzanine level on this facade would be a mistake. Because one of the reasons I mentioned before, this was, that Abernathy designed this facade the way it is without windows there, and he did that on purpose. It's designed to not have openings there, and I think that's part of the problem, that we're trying to put windows where it was originally intended to be a blank wall.
Right.
So whatever we do there needs to honor that, and it needs to honor the style, the Art Deco style of the slot windows, and with this brick, it's got the brick detail, we got the curved storefront on the, all that stuff, we talked about it before, but it needs to honor these things. You also kind of functionally, there's a louver that's sort of over the entrance. You can see it in the street view. There's some other things that, just kind of functionally get in the way. Maybe that's not an issue, but it's another element that's not really, we haven't really thought about or talked about these things. I do have a question for you guys though. The brick detail that shows on the facade, that's to the left of the actual windows in what I kind of think of as the tower area.
Yeah.
But it doesn't show up on your elevation. Were you intending to do anything with that?
No, we plan to leave that as is.
Okay. Because that changes the composition of the facade. By not having it there, there's that space that reads between the proposed windows and those existing horizontal windows isn't really there.
Right.
So when we look at this, I think it's important to look at the elements as they would actually exist. But I'm glad you're not looking to do anything there. So my next question is, have you considered doing anything on this upper floor other than trying to center them on the storefront?
My question would be, I guess what I would ask is what thoughts do you have?
I'm thinking, Matt, if we could go back to the current proposal, thank you. There's a proportion to the storefront windows as they exist now, and it reads very well in this drawing that it's basically a strip of storefront and it's divided into roughly 7 equal sections. It's a little bit different at the door and where the curve comes back. But if you push the windows to the left and center them on every other panel and just do those 3 windows, I wonder if we might get a better composition on this facade. So that's why I wonder, have you looked at anything that was not symmetrical? Because Art Deco design is not a symmetrical design by and large, and this facade certainly isn't. So
would you need
I think
4
what
windows?
we need is a non-symmetrical solution, because we're trying to put traditional windows, quite frankly, into a non-traditional building, and that's, I think, part of what the issue is. That it's
I'm
just
really appreciating what you're saying here, Jay. I mean, I would be very interested in hearing y'all's perspective, Katie and Philip, based on that feedback. If you guys could think maybe outside the box a little bit.
Well, and Katie's probably best to answer this, but obviously where the horizontal windows are, that's a stairwell. So you can't get too close to that. I just assume Katie put these windows in line to meet with where the multifamily units were. And I assume that's either a bedroom or a kitchen or living area or something like that. So I don't know how our floor plan aligns with that. So I mean, if you're saying like let's move the windows to the left or the right a little bit, I don't think we have a problem with that as long as it fits the it fits, like it's not some crazy window in the middle of the middle of the wall between 2 units, which I don't think anybody would want. But
well, Philip, I think there's also, you've developed downtown, so you kind of have, when you're working with existing buildings, part of the purpose of working with the existing facade, and granted, these are new windows, right? So I get that, but generally, you work with the windows you're given, and one of the uniqueness of the apartment layout is partially derived from working with that existing architecture. You get really interesting things happening, and it makes the apartments better for it.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying redesign the whole thing to work with the windows, but I think that there could be a compromise here.
Yeah,
That
but the back of this building never had any windows originally. And so, you know, it was just a big open space. So, you know, we've done that on the front. We've taken a lot of those existing where those windows were and are putting those back in, you know, where there was cutouts and stuff. So, you know, if you know, like one thing we've learned, like, you know, if you can find a building that has existing windows, you know, at one time, that's the way to go, because it is a challenge to put windows in. We learned that in the Sears building, big time. But
From a technical standpoint, I just want to plant this seed so the commissioners can be thinking about it. What I heard some openness from the applicant standpoint and from the position of a potential motion. I think you could make a motion that states that the applicant will put in some windows of some sort once additional information is known from their building use. At a minimum, it would be 3 windows or 4 windows, whatever you come up with on the second floor would be matched on the mezzanine level. Jay, I did hear some pushback to that. But if there was concern about leaving it blank and the commission wanted to see some windows go in there eventually, but did not want to forfeit some potential, grander interface towards Market Street, really transforming this building into a storefront and something that's more aligned with what we would see on Main Street and our traditional commercial buildings.
Katie, what are your reactions to
you
that?
could make that motion and guarantee some outcome without just saying, okay, we're going to approve it with no windows and hope they come back with something. There's a way to structure a motion so that it can be documented that either staff would make the final approval on those windows, or there'd be some, at a minimum, there would be some windows put in at some date in the future.
And I just would caveat that before Katie comments that it needs to be that we can still get our CO though.
Exactly. We would need to structure it in a way so you keep your project moving forward.
Yeah.
Get more information on what the potential use of this second space is. And at a minimum, the Historic Zoning Commission can have some confidence that there will be a good product on facing Market Street.
I would feel very comfortable with a motion to that end.
That's really good.
So Jay, some of your thoughts, I think, need to kind of continue to get into the details now that we know maybe there might be some agreement on some form of a motion that's a little involved, but still would be a compromise that would work and move things moving forward. What is it that, from a detail standpoint, you'd like to see different?
Well, I want to know, I guess, informed in terms of a question, this is going to go right to Katie, and I know she should respond to the earlier one as well, but what is the relationship of these 3 new windows to the existing facade? And I'll just kind of leave that broad question, and I just want to know what the thought process was.
Sure. So I can tell you part of it is definitely floor plan driven, but if you go back, can we go back to the, thank you. So what I was trying to do is if you look at the second panel of glass of the storefront, they do align with each other. And then that second window, it aligns with the storefront below, and then I kept equal spacing between the windows. So that may have been, you know, an ill-advised based on, I think, what you would like to see. One thing that I can say is if I can move that window over. If I align the left-hand window with the left hand of the storefront. I don't feel like that hurts anything. I can align the middle window, you know, with the storefront where that curve occurs. And I can move the third window over to the right. My only concern is I'm not 100% convinced that I can get it all the way to the corner. I could probably get it to the curve if I tried to go to the right-hand side of the storefront. I think I'll get into a column.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking on this facade, you just push everything to the left.
Okay.
And you start centered on the left-hand pane of the storefront. Put your first window over that. Then you skip one, put your next one over that. And then you center the last one. And maybe, you know, there's a little bit of an adjustment, but then you just take that even spacing and it should get you pretty close to the first set of doors.
Right.
But I guess what I'm wondering is, you know, the way it reads on the drawing is that you've got three windows that are not quite centered between the edge of the building to the left and the slot windows to the right. Although we do know that there is more brick detail that's not shown here, it changes the feel of it.
Yeah.
Right.
And I guess what we need, you know, just functionally or just visually, you know, we need to set up, those relationships between the elements. And I like the idea. I honestly like the idea that the mezzanine does not have windows on it because it provides some separation between the elements.
Hey, Matt.
Jay, I think you've got some good points there. I would definitely agree if you move that over, all three of those over to the left, like you're talking about. As you mentioned before, Art Deco does tend to be somewhat asymmetrical in a lot of its work. And that kind of fits in. It looks like we're trying to take a 19th century symmetrical front and do something else with it a little bit. And yeah, you do have that brickwork coming over. I kind of like that proposal personally. I do not have a problem with the mezzanine not having windows at this point.
Right.
I really don't.
Hey, Matt.
I don't either.
Matt,
Yeah.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, can you join me for my phone? I need to leave this office. So
Yes. Or Wendy, you know, let Philip in. Please.
I'm in.
Okay.
Thanks.
This is for anybody. If this was left blank, is there potential, you know, for a sign panel or something that would, you know, break up that space?
I think honestly that it reads as, you kind of think of it as white space. It's the space in between that gives the elements you do put there more importance.
Yeah, I would
I
agree.
know that
I
sounds
think
kind of, you know, but
I think
it's there on purpose.
Yeah. It kind of, yeah, if you leave it just as blank space there again, it kind of fits in with some of the more modern Art Deco type situation. I don't think it needs to be a sign panel.
Right.
Anything of that kind.
So if there is, you know, if that was left blank and there was just a modification to the windows from a motion standpoint, I think you could frame a motion so that the applicant makes some final revisions, submits that, and staff would approve those modifications to the rear of 309. And then if you have no issues with the other, the front of 309 and the rear of 313, then you would just motion to approve those as presented. If there is more of a desire to see something on the mezzanine level included, then we could you know, discuss that further. But if people are leaning towards nothing on the mezzanine, I think it's pretty straightforward that we would just have the final tweaks approved by staff. Kelly Duggan, who is part-time and has a lot of historic, some of you have met her. She is on the call. And Kelly, do you have anything to add from a staff standpoint about, you know, structuring a motion or anything you've heard tonight that you would want to weigh in on?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it would be nice hearing some of Jay's comments. And I don't know if y'all have done it this way before, just structuring a motion where it's approved contingent on some consultation with Jay.
That's what I would do anyway, since he's got some strong, if we kind of defer kind of to like a DRC kind of situation.
Right.
We've done that
Right.
before. We've done, rather than be staff approval, it was a staff approval based on consensus from the DRC.
That's what would make sense to me from
Okay.
here.
Yeah, so I think we're close. I think we did some great improvements were made between last Wednesday and now. This is a big project. This is really important for downtown. We need to be good partners as the Historic Zoning Commission, not only serving just the historic district and the residents of Johnson City as a whole, and all the past of Johnson City and all the future of Johnson City. It's a lot. It's a big, important role that you guys play, but also being friendly to developers and businesses. It's get pulled in a lot of different directions, and I think we're close to something here. And so, Nathan, you got anything else to add, or can we get close to a motion here? I think.
Yeah, I would like to go ahead and close the public hearing if we have no
That's
further.
good.
I've got one more question. Are we talking about, since we're talking about public hearing on the whole thing, is that correct, Matt?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got a question going back to the 313.
Okay.
Why are they proposing to paint it white? Now, I think they did say something about they were going to hold off on painting it at all until they kind of get a look at it and see what it looks like.
Yes. I'm going the wrong direction.
But I have a real problem with that building being painted white.
Yeah, I thought that had been
front of the building.
removed from.
You don't see the
final-
front and the rear at the same time.
Well, and I don't think anybody has a problem with that. That's why we pretty much said, let's hold off on doing anything. Let's see what it looks like with.
Okay.
Yes, I mean, we're completely comfortable with not doing anything besides adding the windows.
Right. Okay.
The problem was that was in their original proposal. and
Right.
It got in the staff report, and then it got in the presentation, but they took it out of their revision that was submitted today.
Okay.
And the illustration got updated, but the text did not get updated. So
Okay.
good
Thank you,
catch,
Matt.
great catch there. Thank you.
Yeah, I do appreciate
And
that.
Matt, and I know you guys want to close the public, and I'm fine with that. And I would love, Jay, for us to talk further if, I am 100% open to that. I did send Matt, I did just send you an email. I did move those windows, but one thing I want to, I can't move them in the pattern exactly that you would want based on where there's a living room, bedroom, in order to keep them at least within their rooms on the 309 building. Did my email come through, Matt?
Yes, I've got it.
So just trying to show that where I could place those windows to correlate with the storefront. And again, I'm happy if we can work through that together. I'm more than open to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it looks, just looking at it quickly, it looks very much in line with some of the comments I've heard. So
Right.
I think that's something we can do, outside of this, some of these nuts, these fine tuning
Great,
we can
perfect.
do outside of the historic zoning meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do want to really quickly, I think we, for 313, I think that's much better. I think that works.
Yeah.
So just, unless anyone else objects, I'd like to move to the front of 309.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
All right, thank you. So my question here is, we're rearranging the windows rather than 3 double windows. We've got 2 doubles and 2 singles, and then it looks like the height and that the window heads and sills have changed as well.
No, the window sills and heads have not changed.
Okay, I'm just comparing the drawings, and they show up in different locations. At least it appears that they show up in different locations from the original proposal to the newer one. For instance, the sills of the middle floor, I guess that would be the second floor, align with the panel joint. So, sort of, they're kind of like they align with the head of the panel below, but they do not in the updated.
Yeah, it does look shifted.
So I guess my question is two questions. What necessitated changing to single windows on the side? If was that part of the original openings that you're trying to capture, or what happened there? And then what is the relationship between those existing panel joints and the window heads and sills?
So the separating out of the windows to have doubles and singles happened because there are columns within those walls.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wouldn't have been able to keep a consistent pattern. I would have been into a steel column if I kept the 3 double windows.
Okay.
So that is what drove that. There's actually a steel column between each single window and the double windows.
Okay, that's unfortunate. Okay.
Yeah, tell me about it. And then based on, I'm not sure, I can't tell you 100% because I did have somebody working with me who is no longer with me, that I don't know if he adjusted something on the windows themselves. There could have been, and again, I'm saying this because I'm not 100% sure. He may have put a little bit smaller of a window in, and I'd have to go back and measure this window and measure the other window. Yeah, it looks like, I think he did change it to a 5-foot window. And again, part of that was cost driven, and that it was, instead of buying multiple different size windows, we were buying a consistent window. Again, I don't think that is a huge driver. If you guys say we have to put a bigger window in, I mean, I personally think that, on the original, the lower band lined up, but the upper band did not. And again,
Right.
there is a chance, because we can't, or we haven't, gone on ladders and measured every single brick patterning, that it could be off a little bit from what's drawn compared to what's in, the existing building.
It's a representation of the front facade.
Correct.
Yeah. The main thing is that it
So
aligns with the other windows and things, I think, right? And the
Right.
Say that again,
Now-
Matt?
That what I'm saying is that you're trying to align the windows with the other windows and the floor levels and the neighboring buildings and some of those things that are known, not necessarily with the brick pattern.
Right.
Was there somebody else who jumped in there? Maybe it was Jay.
No, I was just gonna say, I honestly, I think it needs the relationship between the brick bands and the windows is paramount
Yeah.
to those other considerations. Because I look at this and it looks like it's just slightly off. It looks, it looks unintentional.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with
And
that.
again,
Yeah.
honestly, this is a bit of a unique situation. Now, did you say that this building originally had openings punched in this wall, or are these all new openings in the wall?
These are all new openings in the wall. The
Okay.
portion that had windows was the mezzanine level.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Well, okay. Well, unless we have more questions, the next step is to close the public hearing. So, do we have more
That's fine.
questions for the applicant, or should we work on our motions here?
Yes, I just wanted to understand what the motions are going to be.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it sounded like everybody was fine with the windows on the hands-on building, and everybody, was fine with the look of the front. We may need to move it just a hair, but and then the back, it sounded like everybody was okay with leaving for the Art Deco look, leaving the mezzanine blank and just putting those windows in like we had proposed, and just maybe moving them around a little bit. But other than that, that was what my understanding was.
Yeah, Nathan, I think you can, I think we're at a point.
Steak today.
I'm sorry. Who's that?
Can I get,
Philip, mute your.
So, hey, and I'll take a double cheeseburger too.
Yeah, no kidding.
Don't mind the dinner for us tonight.
Again, I would suggest, well, I say we close the public hearing. I think we're close to a
Yes.
motion here.
I think that
I
we
did
need to
not
do
know
that.
that Jay had further detailed concerns about 309 front, but I appreciate those comments.
Yeah.
Again, I would
Yeah, honestly,
say,
that's the first I've seen that revision.
right.
That I don't think that was part of our discussion last week, so I was surprised to see it.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it does seem to be, slightly different with where it aligns
Now, I
with the
can
brick.
tell you that it is not different from last week. Nothing changed from last week.
Okay. Yes, that's right. There were no modifications on this. We did not dive into detail on this one in our DRC. We were focused on the rear.
Right.
So again, it sounds like slight modifications might need to be considered, some tweaks through DRC review. Again, I would recommend, if there's no overall objections to the splitting out of the double window to single windows, that's the main revision. And that if there's some slight tweaks between what was the original approved in 2019 and where these windows and headers and sills align with some other architectural features, and that's slightly changed with what we've received today, that we can review that before final approval, just like we would review the slight modification to the rear windows as proposed. So again, a motion for final approval through DRC review, but generally, general consensus for approval as presented.
All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing then, and we can begin the deliberations. Seems like, Matt, you want to help us just go through, and Nicole, if you want to make sure to take notes here. It's going to get complicated, I think. So.
Thanks.
So 309 front, it would be as proposed and presented by staff, with additional consideration for final placement of the windows with approval from or review by the DRC and staff approval.
I would be comfortable with a motion to that effect.
Would that, after, I have a question. If you do this with the DRC, you come back to us as the commission, or just go ahead?
No, you would essentially be giving staff approval to make the final approval.
So it wouldn't come to us, it wouldn't come before us again, is what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay.
Staff would make the final approval on the recommendation from DRC.
Gotcha. All right.
I would move that on the facade for 309 Main Street, that we approve those changes with the understanding that the windows will be lined up with the brick banding and be brought back to DRC for final review before staff approval.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
I do want to point out that the differences between what was originally proposed, it doesn't all align with the brick banding. Only the second floor does. The third floor does not. So I don't know that it'll work just perfectly like that. We also have heard tonight that the representation of the brick may not be precise.
Right.
And so what we want to do is have the DRC review it and give some specific language to the applicant of what they're okay with, what they need to look for when they've got the specific brick, what they need to attempt to accomplish when they go to put these windows in.
Yeah.
I would just say, as presented, as approved, with final consideration and approval by final consideration by the DRC, with staff doing administrative approval. And we can have a more detailed conversation at the DRC level.
And we're saying that would be a blanket statement for all three facades, essentially.
Yeah, except for, yeah, I mean, you could do that. That
I suppose
works.
maybe just for 309 and then 313 is fine.
Yeah, and that may help this applicant go ahead and get started on 313 with some.
Yeah.
Right.
But I still expect this to be turned around really quickly.
Agreed.
I would
Okay.
just like to throw out too, I don't think it needs to be part of the motion. I would feel more comfortable too if the chairman sat in on the DRC meeting. I know that Nathan, you're an alternate already, but I think if we could be at full capacity for going over this, and I personally would like that, but
Okay,
I don't know how everyone else feels.
I'm happy to do that.
Thank you.
Yes,
Sounds good.
absolutely.
So
Okay.
Hal, you were making a motion.
Yeah, okay, I started to make a motion, and this is basically on 309 on the Main Street facade, that we approve that with consideration, how do I want to phrase this now? With consideration for looking at the placement a little more clearly and aligning them up as best as possible, maybe with the brick. Depending on how that works, I'm not sure exactly how we can phrase that.
I would just say, you know, final alignment of windows consideration to existing architectural features.
Right. That would be good. Okay. Because I really don't have a problem with that original where the upper floor kind of cuts into that one band. But the first floor, as Jay pointed out, I think that is significant because you got the band and then just maybe one or two bricks above it, you got the window starting. And I think that is distracting.
Well, we still need to confirm that what's in reality is also what's shown in the illustration. We don't know
Right.
that yet. So
Okay.
we got to get additional information.
Okay.
Is
So
that your
I'd like to see it all as one motion. With
Okay.
All right. Well, I would add on to that 313. Well, let's go to the rear of the rear of 309 on Market Street. That we approve the windows on the second floor with some adjustments in spacing to be reviewed by DRC.
Exactly.
And also that, what am I on here? And this would only be on the second floor. The mezzanine level would be left blank.
That's
As presented.
correct. But Hal, my understanding is that the commission would prefer that the motion includes the proposition that the mezzanine level would have windows at some point in the future. Is that correct?
I don't agree with that. I'm not going to make that
That's
motion.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not
neither
going
do
to
I.
make a motion like that. If somebody else wants to put that in, that's their point.
Okay.
I have no problem with that mezzanine level being blank.
Chairman
Right.
Brand, what I think would occur is
yeah.
if a tenant wanted to come in there and they wanted to have that mezzanine level windows, they'd have to come back to the
Right.
commission and make
Yeah,
a case for doing
Exactly.
that.
Right.
Right. And it would have to look better than what is there now or what the proposal will finally
Right.
be.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have to trust these people because they are, they have done a lot of work in this city. So I think we kind of need to trust them.
Yeah, but I think that's all I was going to say about 309 on the back, and then 313, we are approving that as basically as presented. Correct?
That's correct.
Correct.
So
All right.
this is-
This is a complicated motion, so do all commissioners understand the motion that's being made? And
yes.
so
Yes.
do we have a second.
Do we want to have Nicole read it back to us?
I can.
Okay, that'd be good.
Okay, I've got 309, final alignment of the windows to the existing architectural features on the front. 309 in the rear, approve windows on the second floor with spacing adjustment with the DRC and staff approval. Mezzanine level would stay blank. 313 as presented.
Only one adjustment where you have for the rear of 309, you say consideration by DRC and approval by staff,
Uh-huh.
take that same sentence and add it to the end of
the
the
first one.
description for the front of
First one.
309.
First one,
Okay.
yes. Oh,
Gotcha.
right. Both of
So
them.
the DRC is going to do 2 of the facades is what you're saying.
Both sides of 309.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So this would approve 313
Yes.
and give
Right.
them permission to move forward
Right.
tomorrow if they want.
That's correct.
Are we waiting for are we waiting for a second?
We are.
Second.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Ms. Lawrence, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Biasca,
Yes.
Commissioner Forsyth,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Hunter,
Yes,
Commissioner McCusker,
Yes.
Commissioner Tool,
Yes.
and Chairman Brand.
Yes.
Motion approved as stated.
Thank you very much, everyone, and thank you to Katie and Philip for
yes,
joining us. We appreciate
All
it.
right.
yeah.
Thank you, guys. We
Katie and
appreciate
Phil
it.
for hanging
Thank
in
you
there
all.
with us.
Yeah, we'll be in touch.
We really do
right,
appreciate
thanks.
the work you do, Philip.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, we appreciate you guys, caring about this stuff. So thank you.
Yeah.
So, all right. See you guys.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you,
Yep.
Katie. for
Everyone have a
your-
good Thanksgiving.
appreciate it.
Happy Thanksgiving,
Thank
everybody.
you, everyone.
Yes.
Okay, I got a couple of quick things. Well, we'll see how quick they are. One is Commissioner Biasca I mentioned is rolling off, and so Nicole, we have advertised for that position.
Yes, and we do have some applicants.
So there will be a new member, but we hate to see Liz go, but we really appreciate all her years of service. We are working on a proclamation to acknowledge her service and as well as Valda.
Right.
She,
Yeah.
within the last 12 months, we've lost two pillars of the Historic Zoning Commission. So we want to recognize them and honor them, and that'll be something that the City Commission will do in December.
The second meeting in December.
Second meeting in December. So
meeting
we'll
in
try to get
December.
more information to you on that.
Thank you, Matt, for moving on that. I think that's, I don't know, Liz, how many years have you been on this commission?
20.
20? Oh, my God.
Uh-oh.
Did she say plenty or 20?
20. Yes.
It's been-
Plenty of 20.
Oh,
But I've loved every minute of it, and I'm going to
yes.
miss you all.
You will definitely be missed.
Well, I absolutely love Johnson City. I'm gonna cry.
Right.
But I grew up here from the time I was 3, and there isn't anything that I wouldn't do for Johnson City and for this area and for the people. And so I'll be around. If you have any questions, you can call me.
Thank you, Liz.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank
Liz.
you.
Thank you, Liz.
We will miss you.
Sean.
One other piece of business. I will also be following Liz. I put in my notice with the city of Johnson City on last Wednesday. And looks like someone's been kicked out of the Zoom meeting. And so I will be going to the city of Hendersonville in North Carolina. I'll be the planning manager starting December 18th. My last day with the city of Johnson City is December 9th.
Wow.
And so this is
Wow.
my last Historic Zoning Commission meeting.
Wow.
Oh, my God.
Kelly, who just texted and said she got kicked out of this meeting somehow, will be taking on, a more involved role. I'm trying to see if I can help her get back.
She's back in.
She's
She's
here.
back?
Mhm.
Yeah, she's back.
Okay, so I see. So she'll be handling some of the administrative COA stuff that I do, and if there's a meeting in December, which right now it's scheduled for December 22nd, not a great time. But so we'll be monitoring that as the next December 10th deadline for applications comes in. It's been a pleasure. I've gotten tons of experience working with you guys, learned so much, and really, just been a big boost to my career by having the opportunity and the responsibility of leading this commission. And I've learned so much. I think we've got such a great crew right now, in particular, this commission's gotten stronger and stronger and stronger over the last couple of years that I've been a liaison. So again, it's been a pleasure. Gonna miss you guys. I won't be far, only a little over an hour away. But it's a good move for me career-wise. It's a good move for our family, getting closer to Greenville, where home is, and parents are, grandparents. We just had a little baby boy not too long ago, maybe 4 weeks ago or so. So, our family is growing exponentially, like by the minute. So it's important. So appreciate you guys, and don't want to take a bunch of time or anything, but just want to make sure you guys knew that. Some of you've probably heard that, but wanted to take this time in this meeting to thank you all for your time and let you know that I was departing before you maybe heard from other folks, because you guys all deserve to hear that from me. So.
Well, thank you for everything you've done, Matt, and congratulations. I know it's bittersweet, but we're all really happy for you, and you deserve it. So,
thank you.
Best of luck, and if you ever want to come back.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And thank you too, Liz. We're gonna miss you as well. So
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you,
you,
both of you. Matt,
Thank you, Matt. Wow.
yeah, Matt, thank you so much. You have
Thank
done
you,
so
Hal.
much to get this commission geared up and really doing what it's supposed to do.
I had
Right.
no clue what I was doing when I was like, I better start calling Hal right now. I don't understand.
Well,
I don't even know what
I didn't
these
have a clue
words
what I
mean.
was doing either. So it was fine.
No, but I had a lot of gratitude towards you, Hal. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Matt. I appreciate it. Yeah, we've had our times, but it's been good.
Yep, it
Been
really
good.
has.
I really appreciate all the work and effort you do in
Right.
putting together the packets and everything. I mean, it's just incredible.
You've changed it from night and day, Matt.
Matt,
Yeah.
you did, and I'm gonna tell you, after I've been on longer than anybody else. So there've been several before you, but you have by far been the very, very best, and
Yes.
I admire
Right.
you greatly.
Right,
That means a lot. Thank you, Liz.
right.
it
Much
shows how
appreciated.
much you care. It really does. It comes through every meeting and everything we work on. So it's noticed. It's
Okay.
appreciated.
Matt, did you use us for references for your new job?
I don't know if these guys called anybody. That should be a warning sign.
They called me. I said all kinds of terrible things.
Did you?
I still
Yeah.
got the job.
Hopefully they haven't waited to start calling references and be like, oh yeah, we talked to some people and we're going to rescind that offer.
See, I don't know anybody in Hendersonville. I do in Asheville, but I don't know in Hendersonville.
Well, you will. And
Right.
come down for a visit. Great Main Street, great downtown.
Hendersonville's done a lot to their downtown.
Yeah,
Oh,
they've been what a lot of folks look at as an example.
Right,
that
right.
they try to emulate. So
Yeah.
Right.
well, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Don't
Thank
want to
you,
take any more of
Matt.
your time.
Thank
And
you.
y'all have a great evening and stay in touch.
Happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Happy
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy
Happy
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving to everybody. Liz, I'll be talking to you later.
Okay, call me.
Okay, will do.
Should we adjourn? Do we need to officially adjourn?
Oh, yeah, adjourn.
Turn.
Okay.
You're adjourned. Okay, thank you, Matt.
See you later.
I-